新是民族进步的灵魂，是一个国家兴旺发达的不竭源泉，也是中华民族最深沉的民族禀赋。正所谓苟日新，日日新，又日新。
If you can renew yourself in a day, do so day after day, then there will be daily renewal. For millennia, the Chinese people have used this motto to push themselves to be better every day. Hundreds of years ago, Chinese inventions like the printing, compass, and gunpowder were passed to Europe. Later, the Western calendar and astronomy were introduced to China. The history of science and technology is not just one of invention, but also one of communication. Today, I came to Tsinghua University to talk with Stephen White about the old Chinese saying, 苟日新，日日新，又日新. Stephen, we're glad to have you here. Today, we like to talk about innovation. It started with an Asian quotation. If you renew yourself in a day and do it day after day, then you have daily renewal. So it says a lot about how to innovate, but is there any similar expression that you know of?
If we talk about innovation and coming from a business background and technology, innovation, research, obviously the god of this is Schumpeter, who talks about, innovation being, he calls it the gales of creative destruction. So that for the economy to progress, for society to progress, that's a key part of it.
Can you give me an example of the Chinese creating something new that are driving the economy in another direction, to another level?
The whole digitalization of so many facets of daily life. Obviously the best example that is very common would be the whole WeChat or Alibaba platforms created this place where all a billion people on one side and millions of companies and service providers on the other side can meet. Distance becomes less important. So you can do things and access people, resources, markets at a broader scale. It definitely contributes to economic development and also a broader economic benefit, not just in the big cities where the centers of those technologies might be.
What do you think of the Chinese policies that are encouraging innovative growth in businesses?
I think in some aspects it's doing a good job of putting emphasis on deeper research, deeper technology-driven entrepreneurship. Several good things that are happening. One, there's a lot of incentives, rewards for basic research output. Usually in the form of papers or or patents perhaps. The other thing that's helping is making it easier for people to license the technologies from university. Research that's done in a university doesn't just stay in a paper and sit in a desk.
This knowledge is more valuable when it's spread around.
Right, so that was the idea, that to encourage and facilitate and enable that ease of licensing technology, even encouraging that. So that's been an important development recently in China.
Innovation is of course important, essential for a lot of people. Why innovation matters? What does it bring to the world and the people living in it?
In this very short phrase, I would just say it brings the potential for a better tomorrow. It's about the quality of life, whether it's individuals having better health care, better education, better living environment, better food, more opportunities at the society level, the health of the society, so to speak. That's the potential, and that's why innovation...
Yeah, and the realization of human potential and the promise of human functionality.
Most innovation is somehow working towards that idea.
I visited a lab at Tsinghua University that focused on cutting-edge research in computational imaging, brain science, and artificial intelligence to see how innovation works there.
实际上，所有有志于从事科研的人都一定会有好奇心，会有想象力，但是不意味着你有好奇心和想象力就会解决所有的问题。那么遇到困难的时候，仍然要保持一个乐观向上的态度，要坚持不懈地走下去。
苟日新，日日新，就是要激励我们能不断地去开拓创新，不能仅仅停留在自己原来科学研究的舒适圈。这样一些新的不断尝试的过程中，那才有可能去迸发出新的灵感创新的火花。
未来能够继续去扎根于中国的一个科学研究，然后跟世界进行平等的一个科研交流，甚至去引领世界的一个科研的一个前沿。
Change breeds vitality. Innovative endeavors by individuals will lead to the transformation of the world. From independent innovation to cutting-edge technology, China is not only a testing ground for innovations, it also committed to making the results benefit more people.
我国广大科技工作者要以与时俱进的精神、革故鼎新的勇气、坚韧不拔的定力，肩负起时代赋予的重任，努力实现高水平科技自立自强。 凿井者起于3寸之坎，就万人之身。社会主义建设者的接班人，既要有高尚品德，又要有真才实学。
To dig a well, you begin with a shallow pit, and eventually you get a deep one. That saying comes from Liu Zicongxue, a book written more than 1,500 years ago. And today, it is still used to encourage young people to achieve big goals through perseverance and hard work. That works for a person as well as a country. In 2015, the Chinese government made a promise that by 2020, China would eliminate absolute poverty. For starters, the poor need better education. Knowledge and skills would empower the poor families and enlighten the poor children. It is like digging a well. And today, I will go with my friend Kirk to visit a school in Yan'an in northwest China to see how education has made a difference here.
你猜他多大？54。They said you're 54。他很高兴，你们说他这么年轻，他60了。Very good。
Okay, let's meet in the library. Oh, Kirk, what a day. We're visiting the school for a whole day. What do you feel about the school?
There's so many children in school here in China compared to the schools that I'm used to in Canada. A lot of shining and happy faces, that's for sure.
But you know, this school has a very humble beginning. It started as a school in a little cave with just one teacher, and now it's this. Because this is located in the west of China, not so developed area, it got a lot of help from elsewhere. For example, the internet classroom we just visited, they got teachers helping from the East Coast. That seems to be the way that China has been adopting to help the schools in the remote areas.
You know, and I didn't expect to see that here, internet teaching. It's, you know, having highly trained teachers teach kids in schools that may not have access to those highly professional teachers. And I think that the teachers can learn from what they're being taught online here.
And about this saying, when you want to have a well, you have to make a dent first, and then eventually you have a deep well. You have similar expressions in other cultures?
Well, you know, every long journey starts with a single step, and I think that's true with anything that you do in life. Well, and I think that's where this saying comes in. You know, you've got to start somewhere. Take that first step.
And first step is important because China has a huge campaign to alleviate poverty And the first step they think it is appropriate is education. And here is a good example. Have you heard of education so that we can have poverty relief?
Well, you see, education is a backbone of poverty alleviation. With good education, these children have the opportunity to go from good education to good employment. They're making more money, their lives are better, and when they have children, you know that they're going to be spending some of that hard-earned money that they've made on their children's education. It's a cycle. If that cycle is poverty, well, then they're never going to have a chance to better their communities, their families. If that cycle turns into prosperity through education and better employment, then the prosperity cycle will start.
Yeah, and obviously poverty is a global problem. If people living elsewhere in the world should take away anything from the Chinese practice by lifting people out of poverty through education, what would that be?
Invest in your children. And China is actually a good example. If you invest in your children like China has done, you've got better education, you've got better healthcare. In China's, the infrastructure is getting better. You've got all of these things are growing. And the rest of the world is watching and saying, well, how is China doing that? And sooner or later, they're going to figure out it's because their education. In 1993, they put just under 90 billion yen into education, so between 2.5% and 3% of their GDP. In 2020, they put over 5 trillion yen into education. So you can see the difference with that investment in their children, in education of the people of the country. They've made their country a better, more prosperous place to thrive.
Thank you very much, Kirk.
周老师，您看到这个学校的变化是什么样的呀？
日新月异的这个变化，从2层现在变成4层，然后后边又就建了这个综合楼，整个的这个设施设备都是焕然一新。咱们这个区上市上都特别重视这个小学这个教育。
那杨老师，当年他这个小学是什么样的状况？
当年只有8孔窑洞7间平房，然后到了1995年，时任福州市委书记的习近平倡导切家企业建切校，然后迁址修建了我们现在的这所学校。我就是杨江里小学毕业的，看到这个母校有这么大翻天覆地的变化，我心里由衷的感谢。相信孩子们能在这样的环境中，他们会更加的努力学习。
扶贫必扶志，让贫困地区的孩子接受良好教育，是扶贫开发的重要任务，也是阻断贫困代际传递的重要途径。